EastWest Timber, we own and we harvest timber concessions in northwest Russia. And we manufacture finished timber products in Estonia. That's what we do today. In Russia, what have we achieved? Well, we've secured title forest concessions with 49-year cutting rights. We own. Every picture in this, we own. Every asset, we own. We own the railheads, we own the harvesting and the transport equipment. This is extremely relevant because less than 5% of the companies operating in Russia own these things. We've established the protocols for a Russian business and for European Union cross-border delivery. If you think the business is value on the assets, you should look at the value and the know-how. I mean, this is no one else has done this. We've absorbed the development costs. That's the 34 shareholders. We've raised money 5 times, and we've raised money each time at a premium to the previous time. And we're now established. We're ready for expansion. In Estonia, we've got real assets that it's European Union assets. We own a 30-hectare freehold timber processing facility with kilns, moulding and planing equipment. We don't own the strong customer base, which it says here, but in actual fact we have the customer base, and that's probably another great asset. We're currently in a process of raising $2.5 million equity to finance expansion in Russia. We'll cover more details later. Management, me, I've been involved in natural resource, mostly mining and oil and gas. And I was talking to someone at the coffee break. It's quite amusing. He said, well, how's it going in Russia? And I said, we haven't had any problems, really. And he said, oh, that's interesting. And I said, well, really, in the last 10 years, I was in two coups in Africa. And if you want to be in a coup, it's more interesting than being in Georgia. Charles Parsons goes backwards and forwards to Russia and Estonia. What he's done has been brilliant because he structured the company. And I can tell you, you'd pay several million to get the structure that we've got if you're using lawyers that wear suits. Alex, we explained before, Marek, a brilliant, dynamic person who has my... In fact, I wouldn't have invested if it wasn't for Marek. I mean, you know, you just have to have the connections in Russia. We've got a guy called Marko Kul, who's the finance director. He's also the largest asset manager of property in the Baltic states, which is a pretty useful thing to have. We've got a guy called Barry Prentice who spent his entire life in timber. He trains. He's responsible for, product quality control. And we've got Lyosha Luganov, who runs the Russian operations. Valuable management team. Charles is an extremely valuable person if you get to talk to him on the phone for short periods of time. And he said, well, Rod, he said, there's only 2 things I want to know, and just get on with it. He said, I want to know why timber and why Russia. And since no one had ever written it down before, we had to do it. Timber, well, it's one of the world's most important natural resources. It's been used throughout civilization, which is longer than oil, gas, or mining. A very valuable attribute of timber is you don't have to spend 10 years developing a project. You don't have the exploration. You don't have the development costs. You don't have 43 101s, broker advisors, bankable feasibility studies. Basically, your timber is on the ground. And this is a 100-year life timber, and it's sustainable. It's extremely valuable, in other words. And it's cheap relative to mining or oil and gas. Well, why did we call it EastWest Timber? Well, we called it timber. By the way, I'm pleased to see that there are no competitors here. We called it timber to distinguish it from bulk commodities. You will never find me involved in bulk commodities. We're involved in providing timber for the internal construction sector. You see it in this room. The timber that we provide is the highest quality available as any in the world. It's used for door frames, window frames. We don't do pulp, we don't do paper, we don't do wood chip, we don't do anything with China. Okay? The vision that we had at the beginning, which remains the vision for the company, which is the reason really why people have invested, is we're after vertical integration. Coast mentioned in his presentation that the only way you can make serious money in any of the commodities is to control each steps of the pipeline. We've actually done it. We've done a virtual vertical integration. It's amazing to me that no one's done it. I mean, it's the highest return on capital in any commodities. If you're privileged to analyse Rio Tinto, you'll find that the returns they get from industrial minerals are because it's vertically integrated. Similarly in the oil industry. The vision is we establish a pipeline, we link that pipeline from the Russian forest through to the customer. It involves several stages of transportation and processing to upgrade it, and it gives you extremely attractive margins, which explains why this company is actually profitable, and why we've only got $150,000 of bank debt, and why we're never in any great need.